Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Rose Smith from AbsoluteSoulSecrets.com and I've got the April planetary overview. Okay, there's a fair bit happening this month, especially in the star signs of Aries and Taurus. There's a bit of a planetary party going on there. We do have a solar eclipse, and we also have our old friend Mercury retrograde on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. So typical, isn't it? Because Mercury retrograde is associated with tricksters and scammers, so do watch for that. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to put on a video here. Firstly, what I'll do is I'm going to talk about the planets separately. So we'll start with the Sun, which in astrology is regarded as a planet. And on the 19th, the Sun moves into Taurus, bringing us a lot of energy for practicality, reliability, generosity, sort of like down to earth, somebody you can trust. A very, earthy sign Taurus is. On the 5th of April, it's conjunct the North Node. You may have flashes around that time as to what your direction in life is supposed to be. You'll be prodded or encouraged to change direction if you're not pretty well on your path around then. On the 8th, the Sun will be conjunct Chiron, and this could bring some sort of insight and awareness over or around past spiritual wounds or emotional wounds. You may even become aware of any physical wounds that you may have suffered. Okay, this could all just be in memory, but you'll be reminded in some way. I see it as ultimately positive, because often with Chiron you're sort of reminded and something starts aching, or there's a few pains or a few emotions around it, and it's coming up for ultimate healing. So I do see that as positive. On the 11th, the Sun is conjunct Mercury, which will be retrograde by that date. So you could have a lot of insight and awareness around communications, especially any communications which don't seem quite right. You're likely to, if you have any sort of intuition that is, you're likely to pick it up and think, oh, that sounds a bit odd, so pay attention for that. And I will also refer to some of these movements, some of these planetary aspects in your individual star signs, which are probably 4 or 5 days away at the moment. On the 21st, the Sun is square Pluto, bringing a lot of awareness around anything that's dark or hidden underneath the surface, especially in your subconscious. There could be things like addiction, manipulation, abuse, all these horrible things that are pretty dark. But on the positive side, you may also become aware of the really deep, meaningful sorts of energies around past lives, or energies emanating from way out in the galaxy, from Pluto, way out beyond the Kuiper belt. So that's sort of like the realms after death. You may go to very deep places in yourself. So that can be quite positive and enlightening, and you realise there's more to life than just this life. Moving on to the moon, we have a new moon on the 8th, and that is in Aries, and it's a solar eclipse. And so this is going to bring a lot of awareness around the new beginnings, and they could happen quite bold and energetically. It might be something that just comes up all of a sudden and impulsively you go with the flow, but that may not be a bad thing. The new moon is quite sort of masculine when it's a solar eclipse. It's more about the physical and manifesting your heart's desires. Okay, we also have the full moon in Scorpio on the 23rd, and this is likely to bring up a lot of deep feelings as well. It's like the culmination of, like, you reach a climax or a critical peak in something that you're doing. Okay, in Scorpio it can be quite intense. Now, Mercury, as I mentioned, is retrograde from the 1st of April through to the 25th. But the week before the 1st of April, say from about the 24th onwards, it's in shadow period when the retrograde energy is coming on. And the week after the 25th, it's in shadow period again as the energy is coming off. So if you have important things to do in shadow, or perhaps when Mercury is actually retrograde, it would be a good idea to put them off if possible. We can't always do that. Just be aware if you're signing a contract or an agreement that you may have to revisit that down the track because something changes. It is a great time to go back and complete anything. Say maybe that you started around, before the 24th of March, maybe you started something and you couldn't finish it. Mercury retrograde brings it back again and then you can sort of finish it. You may also hear news from past friends, especially school friends, people you used to know perhaps, and for one reason or another you lost touch. So you might hear some news about them as well. The thing with Mercury, it goes retrograde 3 or 4 times a year, 3 times this year, so it's really important to learn to deal with it. You can't avoid it. I know plenty of times people say, I can't do that, Mercury is retrograde. Not really. It's got its pros and cons. It just means be more careful with important decisions. Maybe not a great time to travel, but people still do. If you do travel, then know it's probably wise to leave plenty of time between any legs of travel because, the first leg might run late, for example. On the 15th of the month, Mercury is conjunct Chiron, so there could be some difficult communications there, especially with Mercury retrograde. There could be some misunderstandings. On the 19th, Mercury is conjunct Venus, and so again could be miscommunications to do with love or affection, but also to do with anything that requires beautification or justice. These are very Venusian sorts of energies, so just be a little bit cautious there. Venus does enter Aries on the 5th of the month, bringing bold, energetic, impulsive actions, perhaps around love or maybe to do with money, because Venus often encourages you to spend money, okay? So just be cautious if you're buying something beautiful that you don't overspend. On the 29th, it enters Taurus, and that again, because Taurus loves luxury, again there could be energies for overspending on beautiful things. A more positive interpretation would be that Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, is actually blessing Taurians, or depending what Taurus factors you have in your chart, but blessed with affection and love and warmth and beauty. On the 3rd, Venus is conjunct Neptune. This is a beautiful influence, generally speaking, a very spiritual vibe, going with the flow, being in touch with graciousness and elegance in a spiritual way. On the negative side, perhaps looking at the world with rose-coloured glasses. Be cautious with people that they're telling the truth, for example, or that might be their truth, but it's not in alignment with your truth. We have Venus conjuncting the North Node on the 17th of April, bringing this affection. It's almost like destiny, okay? The North Node, it's like looking to what your future holds, and Venus can bring all manner of good things, especially on the 21st. It's conjunct Chiron, and so here there might be some healing around love. Again, often there's a reminder at first which might be a little bit painful, but then it works out that there's some sort of healing energy, so you might be reminded of relationships that haven't worked out. However, it could be for your benefit. Mars enters Aries on the 30th of the month, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, so this is like surge ahead, powerful, boldness, going where no person has gone before type of energy, very Star Trek there. But do be careful with Mars that, you're not too forceful. Sometimes with Mars we might speak and the words come out a little bit too forceful, and we actually don't mean to be so forceful and we're unaware. It is conjunct Saturn on the 10th, and Mars and Saturn can really sort of have ding-dong battles because Mars is all about surge ahead, move forward, but Saturn wants to go slow, okay, cautious. Mars is anything but cautious, so that could be, a day to watch out. On the 19th, it's sextile Jupiter, bringing even more power. Jupiter's quite lucky though, so that could be a really positive thing to get stuff done, especially if you want to do something like gardening or hard physical work, moving furniture, or going and exercising and going flat out, that sort of thing. We have Mars sextile Uranus on the 19th as well. So something unexpected but not necessarily negative could happen, and there could be a lot of intense energy around it. Mars is conjunct Neptune on the 29th, which is probably, you could be sort of filled with spiritual energy and you want to move ahead, especially if you're interested in, say, doing a spiritual project, or you've got a spiritual business. You might be full on moving ahead with that on the 29th. Jupiter is conjunct Uranus on the 21st, and again, anything that Jupiter touches, it expands. So with Uranus, there could be things to do with technology. You might be learning more about technology, for example, or electricity. So, it's because it's Jupiter, it probably doesn't mean that anything's going to blow up, because Uranus is associated with explosions, for example, but Jupiter's more positive than that. So it's probably something unexpected but pleasant that happens, and the rest of the planets are pretty well, direct and moving forward as they normally would. Just one other thing I wanted to mention was that Uranus is trine Lilith on the 12th, and Lilith is not actually an actual place or a planet, but it is a man-made point regarding the moon, and there could be something that comes up that's unexpected, but again, it's probably to do with the feminine, and it could be pretty positive. So it might be, for example, something about liberation or freedom, especially to do with the feminine, or perhaps to do with sexuality or something deep like that. Okay, so that's the month of April, the overview, and I hope you find it helpful. Please leave a like and a comment, and thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, I would really appreciate if you enjoyed this, if you subscribe. Okay, I'll have these star sign horoscopes out in the next few days. Thanks so much. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please visit my website, absolutesoulsecrets.com, for all things spiritual. Have a lovely day.